All right, well, a lot of people out there, including myself, we tend to overeat sometimes, not just because you're hungry, but for other scientific reasons. And that is why we've got Dr. Pam Peeke here. She's the author of this book here, a New York Times bestseller. It's called The Hunger Fix. She's going to explain and also talk about food addiction and how to curb the cravings. Good to have you here, Doctor.
I feel fantastic.
It's
Can't
good.
wait to share.
Well, look at this. This is tough because the cover's got a nice little cupcake on there, right?
Honey, listen, it took us forever to get the right cupcake. We wanted one that would just make you crave.
Seriously. Now, speaking of the cravings, is that a mental thing, or is there something in the food that we're eating now that kickstarts the cravings that we don't know about subconsciously?
It's both. As it turns out, there's brand new science. Yes, it's true. Food addiction is real. You're not going crazy. You are hooked on the stuff. And what is it? It's sugary, fatty, salty stuff. It's funny how it's never tuna on a bed of greens.
Exactly.
You know
okay, so that pretty much covers about 99% of the food that's out there.
Well, of the refined processed foods.
Yeah.
All right, so you got to be very careful about that. And so this is what we found in science, bottom line. The National Institutes of Health did some fantastic studies. Thank heavens, otherwise I couldn't have written The Hunger Fix. And what we found was that in the brains of people who are addicted, whether it's to creme brulee or whether it's to cocaine or alcohol, we see the same thing. And that is your reward system in the brain, deep inside the brain, is hijacked. It's changed organically. That's because too much exposure to this stuff is what we're getting 24/7. When you and I were growing up, I could score a cookie every now and then. Now,
right, it's
24/7.
Yeah.
Cheap, accessible, and it's changed our brains, not just in the reward center, but also in the smarty pants part of the brain behind your forehead, the prefrontal cortex. This is the part that says, rein it in, honey. Just because you see it, let's get smart. It turns out you impair and damage it at the same time you're hijacking your reward center just because of too much exposure to this.
So it's so deep that you can't just say, I'm going to stop eating these foods and that's it. In the book, it says 3-stage detox plan.
That's right.
There's 3 stages.
It's a detox and recovery plan. Okay. You know, no more. This is a game changer. The Hunger Fix is the first consumer book to really address this whole issue of food addiction for consumers, which means that you can't just get one of these 1,200 calorie diets and do what everyone has done in the past. Just do this, drop a few, and then you can go back to what? Normal, the same stuff that got you in trouble in the first place? So you detox first, which means that you're going to change it up. What you're going to see in the kitchen very shortly are some of the magical ways we substitute sweets, fats, right, and change up the salt a little bit. Then you go into recovery for the rest of your life. Like any addiction, you just crank up the vigilance, you crank up the mindfulness, and there's some really neat ways to do this with food.
And you got to be mindful of the difference between hunger and appetite.
You got it. Everyone gets them confused. When you have a craving, when you're really hooked on, you know, these kinds of hyper-palatable foods, I call them the false fixes in the book. What ends up happening is you get them all confused. You say, oh, I'm so hungry for that cookie. No, you're not, honey. You know, your appetite's completely out of control. Hunger is a biological survival thing. I need the food or I'm going to keel over. Appetite is a psychological drive. I want. So need and want, when they're together, are fine. What we have with, you know, craving and urges and addiction is want going out of control. So when you think that you've got an appetite, ask yourself, when was the last time you just ate? 10 minutes ago? How could you be hungry? This is impossible.
There's a difference. There is a difference. All right, good to know. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the book, too.
Oh, thank you.
And you're not going anywhere.
I'm going to the kitchen.
You're going to the kitchen. We're going over there right now with JD, Dr. Peeke, and another guest, too. We're going to make a healthy and delicious dish that's going to help you control the cravings and also satisfy the taste buds. I should really be over there first.
Well,
I probably should be, right?
There's still more of Better to come.